Tonight on Nova Legends podcast, I had Patriot coach Sherman Rivers back with me again. For people who have been under a rock in a cave for the last 30 or 40 years, Sherman was a guard on the Potomac team that went to the state Final Four, I think three times, Sherman. And then played at William and Mary. Great career there, played pro overseas. Coached a little bit in college. And then recently he's been at Patriot High School and he's taken him to, I think, at least three or four state finals and won several regionals. Sherman, correct my work. What did I get right? What did I get wrong there?
We went to the state championship at Potomac 2 years in a row, lost 2 years in a row, and ironically went to the state championship 2 years in a row at Patriot as a coach and lost 2 years in a row. Everything else is pretty much spot on. I mean, we went to the Final Four 3 straight years, so that was great, but haven't kicked in that door yet.
Yeah, you're almost like the Boston Red Sox. That day when you finally kick it over, you're not going to know what to do with yourself.
Well, it was great. Thank goodness I was able to coach with Keith Honore and get a couple championships as an assistant. So at least I know what it feels like. Now I would like to do it as the person in charge.
I lost the first two games of districts both years when I played, so we didn't even make it to the regional tournament. So
I should appreciate where I got, right?
yeah, people who talk about like the Buffalo Bills and all these other teams that get close. I mean,
I
you're in
said
the
it's
Super Bowl. Like,
right, right,
talk to me once you at least get in the playoffs.
exactly.
Um, um,
Hmm.
Now your son had a big moment in football. You have two sons. I think you may have three sons, but I think you have two sons.
I have four. Two are playing sports house right now.
Yeah, the
Before, yeah.
two that I see on Facebook, one is a freshman who I think had his first touchdown pass in a football game, and then your younger son looks like he's going to be a great athlete as well.
Mm.
What when it's football season for me, I was a better football player than basketball player, but I stopped playing at a certain point and focused on basketball. But there's something about football season. When I go to football games early, like in the early fall, I just love the change of seasons and the sounds of it. What does football do to you? Do you get the same feel in football season as you get in basketball season, or is it different?
I mean, like being real, when I was growing up, man, I was convinced I was going to be a pro football player. I just knew that. I was that kid that went to all the camps and knew every single coach and quarterback from every team when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And it wasn't until I got to be about eighth or ninth grade that I was like, basketball is going to be it. So football season is exciting. Obviously, having sons that are pretty talented and can do some stuff out there. Not to take away from my two older sons. My one is going to turn 25 here in October, and then my other son, who's a senior, who's doing an excellent job in school, getting A's and B's. So, everybody's got different strengths. But
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, a big deal, Anthony, right now, who he's going to get to start on Friday as a ninth grader. Got in the second half against Colonial Forge. Didn't throw a touchdown pass, but was able to lead a touchdown drive
That's what it was.
when it was still in the balance. And so, I keep telling him, we say this all the time with young kids and everybody now thinking that it's like your right to play varsity as like a ninth and 10th grader, when in reality, it's like the special ones get a chance to do that, especially in football and definitely at the position of quarterback. And I said I was going to talk about this at some point, and then I'll get to my youngest one here in a second because obviously, he's pretty good as well. But we talk about this stuff all the time, Julian, when we talk about kids and trainers and private schools and all of that type of stuff. A lot of people would be surprised to hear this, but Anthony, the only time he was the quarterback on a tackle football team was when he played Anklebiters and as an eighth grader. That is the only time he was a starting quarterback. Um, Even in flag and in 7-on-7, up until he was about seventh or eighth grade, he'd be receiver, he'd be linebacker, he'd be this because he's just like playing football. And for different reasons, coaches who have guys who they want to play quarterback. Sometimes the kids were better. Sometimes I thought that he could have been better, but I never said anything because it's not for me to say. It's the coaches are the coaches. And I never had him in a negative space of thinking that, I should be playing this because that's what I want to do. It was more so like, hey, you just got to get out there and figure out how you're going to help the team. And even this year, going into camp, he had the opportunity to compete for the starting job, which is a big deal.
Big deal.
He initially lost a job to the sophomore, and he wanted to be upset about it. And I remember the next day he's at practice and he was mad because he wasn't getting any many reps. And I mean, you guys know me. He came home telling me about it. I said, well, you should be more mad that you lost the job than you ain't getting the reps, because you're not supposed to get the reps because you're not the starter. So get over it and figure out how to be the starter. So he changed his mindset, changed his attitude, and was supportive, and just, waited, and things kind of didn't go the way that they were hoping with the other guy. He got an opportunity and did something with it, and now he's got a chance to start on Friday. And, it's one of those things. It's like, we got to be, you got to treat this guy like he's Wally Pipp and you Lou Garrett. You can't let him get his job back, brother. Like, you got to go ahead and play and do what you're supposed to do.
For our friends out there who don't know, Wally Pipp was the first baseman who got called in sick one day. Lou Garrett came in and played first base, and I think the next like 17 years he never missed a game. And your son is he looks like he's a pretty well developed kid. He's a freshman, but he looks like his body looks much older, at least with pads on. I've never seen him without pads.
But that's the other piece, because we always talk about reclassing and things of that nature. He just turned 14 years old on August 7th. And he is a true ninth grader, 13 years old when school started.
Wow.
But he's also 5'10", 170 pounds with a size 12 shoe. Now, that's awesome. But at no point in time, even with my younger son, who's going to be a pretty good athlete, I don't really believe in the reclass. I feel like you should just play it out, see how it goes, and then prep if you need be.
Do you feel trapped by all your words on the podcast and elsewise about private schools and reclassing? Because, like, look, for example, our buddy Kevin Harris over at Westfield,
Mm-hmm.
he great coach. Darren Harris went to Paul VI, and Kevin would have probably loved to coach him at least a year or two, but he made the decision was right for his kid.
Right.
Does it put pressure on you when you're a high school coach that you have to live a certain way, you have to raise your own kids a certain way?
I mean, obviously you feel like you don't want to be a hypocrite. You can't shy away from the things you say, but at the same time, you got to be realistic about each and everybody's situation. I still, am, a proponent of public school stuff and competing in that way. But I can't sit here and act like there's never a thought, like, if your kid's a certain level of player, do you give him that opportunity to go do that? But that's not something that I'm even considering. I mean, the only way Devin gets to high school and doesn't play at Patriot High School is if I'm not working there anymore.
Yeah. And I also think Patriot is such a good program. Coach Fenner does a
Absolutely.
great job.
Yes, he does.
You're playing really good teams. So let's say, he becomes a 4-star prospect. I guess they use the same thing in football. I'm not sure. But let's say he does. He can always go senior year somewhere else or whatever. I mean, if need be, I'm not recommending that, but there's no hurry because he's going to have at least a few years of great football at Patriot, right?
Yeah, listen, I mean, they do an excellent job. They put guys in school, which is the thing that I always say. I mean, that's my argument when it comes to us in the basketball program, is that, I know some people like to say, well, it's about getting scholarships. No, it's not. It's about you going to the next level and having the opportunity to play, because everybody can't get scholarships. There's only 3% of people in the entire country that get scholarships to go play basketball. So to say that's about getting scholarships mean that, well, you're probably going to fail at that, because most people don't. The special people get those. So, but they do an excellent job of coaching guys up. They always have good schemes. They don't always have the same level of athletes maybe that everybody else might have that are the top tier type of guys, but they're always right there, and they do a good job of getting their guys ready to play. And I tell them every day, I said, I appreciate the stuff that they do. And like I already talked about, Anthony never went to any quarterback coaches or any trainers or anything like that. And I said, this is a blank canvas for y'all to work. This is everything you see, guys, is what we've been doing in the backyard. This is me and him time, or we're looking at coverages based off of Madden.
You know, people could talk each other blue in the face, but football to me, there are a lot of skills, but there's nothing a great athlete cannot learn. If football, you need the body and the athleticism and the mind for it first. We can teach you just about anything in football. It's a little bit different than basketball and
Right.
baseball stuff. I mean, I saw it when I was in school. Guys that never even played were beasts in football right away, like right out of the block, over and over again. Are you ever intrigued by what Coach Finnerty does? Is anything about coaching football that intrigues you at all?
Absolutely. From this standpoint that I'm the head coach in the little Anklebiters football team, I had to learn some stuff. I was sitting there, I was like, I never had to run a football practice. I had to put in things. I was assistant at different times, but never the guy in charge. And, I asked him, I didn't want it to be weird because obviously I know Anthony was a part of the program. I said, Coach, I just want to come watch so I can learn some stuff to do at practice. I don't need to learn. I said, yeah, I can teach some quarterbacks how to do some stuff and take handoffs and I have plays and ideas, but I don't know how to tell the lineman what to do. I didn't play that position. So, I had to, and he's a great lineman coach, and they got great schemes up front. Now, clearly we're not doing that because they're little kids, but you can get some ideas off that. You can take some of the drills that they do and apply it for those kids. So, I always, like going to see good coaches in their element and how they're teaching it and how they're going about it. I remember when I first got to Patriot, I would go watch different coaches' practices. Our girls soccer coach has been highly successful. I've heard some of the stuff that she's done. Our volleyball coach is very good. I've sat in and heard that. The previous coach that we had before that, I would go watch her workout. She was very successful. I've watched some of the girls' basketball stuff just to see. I just like getting different ideas, some different stuff I didn't think about. And my ego's not too big to think that I know everything and that I got all the answers.
You're selling yourself short, Coach. Your ego is pretty big, man.
I mean, listen, my ego's big because I think that I'm pretty good at what I do, but I know I don't know everything.
Yeah. No, Coach, exactly. Coach Finnerty, he's been a winner wherever he's been. What's the key to his success?
Same thing, just being technically sound in what they're doing. His teams are going to be very fundamentally sound in what they do. Going to be coached well. They're going to run good stuff. They're going to block. They're going to tackle. And then he's been blessed with some very talented running backs in his years at Patriot for sure, where that you block it right, the guy's going to break it for 70 or 80. Now they might not have that level of guy right now, but there is a freshman that they got that played middle school with Anthony that I think will end up being that guy eventually. But when you have good scheme and then you put good players within that, you kind of get, some of those things that happen.
Yeah. So, Coach, there's always schools that are popping up that are like football schools, or even like a St. James where football is one aspect. They have different sports, but there's this Loudon Sports Performance Academy. They played another academy. There's these football schools popping up now. This is a brand new thing. It's not like when you played where we had some folks who transferred to St. Stephen's or Bishop Ireton or Episcopal, Flint Hill, Gonzaga, whatever. These are little like startups popping up for football, and I guess obviously basketball as well. What are some of the pluses and minuses of those types of programs?
You're talking about like which ones are we talking about
Well, like the St. James and I guess the Loudon Sports Performances, these academies of very serious coaching and kind of like
Yeah.
an online type school program that you do together. I don't know much about them. I was hoping you know
I
some.
mean, I can't say that I'm super in depth into how they run their businesses and their programs and their school stuff. So I can't really speak on that. Um, I know what the vision is. Clearly, with the St. James, I think they're looking to be in the sort of the IMG sort of
Mhm.
realm of things. From what I've heard, that the Loudon one is in the same sort of boat that way. But it's one of those things, man. Private schools are going to pop up all the place. You got the Gillian Academy one now. I think that's out there. That's picking up a lot of kids. Obviously, Highland has grown a lot in the last some odd years and the stuff that they do and the success that they've had and the level of players that they've been able to get. It's a lot of options for kids, and sometimes too many options aren't a good thing, because how you were talking about in the past, the type of schools that you would have, the WCAC schools, usually what you would see is the real top level guys. Like, all right, this guy's probably going to make it to the NBA type of stuff. Just examples of guys that were when I was around, like Joe Forte and Keith Bogans.
Right.
Those are the type of guys you used to see at private school, or like even a recent one in like a Nate Ament. Like Nate's probably going to be a lottery pick here in the next year or so. The thing that's happening now is that you have your mid-level sort of talent kids that are jumping to the private schools because in their mind, that's the only answer to this recruiting conundrum of like getting scholarships and getting seen. And I don't know if that's necessarily good for the game overall.
I mean, you're talking about basketball now.
Yeah. No, you're saying for football. We
can talk about both.
But even, basketball and football. Highland obviously doesn't have football, I don't think. But, St. James, there's a lot of kids there that are very good. And then there's some kids that are there that are probably there so they can pay the tuition of the kids that they want to come there. And nobody's going to say that, but it's the truth. Not everybody that is coming there is that high talent, big time recruit who's got all these Power Fives coming to see them. They do have a collection of them, which, and obviously Daryl's a really good coach, but there are some kids that have a dream of being something that might not necessarily been the best idea for them to do that and just stay at their public school. And that's where we run into some of the issues with that. I just think that, like I said, you talk about the loud one. I mean, I feel like the one down there, that's in the VHSL, but it's not technically
Liberty Christian.
Liberty Christian. I mean, I feel like they run like a private school as well, and they got some top level kids. Now they're a public school, so I'm sure some of those kids that we talk about, the mid-level kids, are there because that's the school that they're zoned for. But I don't like all the movement of like just because everybody thinks that it's the answer, whether it's football or basketball. It's not always the answer for you. It might not be what you should do. And the bigger thing is what I tell our parents is you got to decide if it's in your best interest to pay that tuition now or let it play out in the public school and just maybe the prep school's free or maybe you just pay the prep school tuition. Because if it doesn't work out, now you're looking at 3 to 4 years of paying for it. And then what if we end up being a Division III player? So now we're still paying for school. And maybe, they're not looking at it from a sports standpoint. And a lot of them will say that and say, oh, education, but they're lying. They don't mean that.
Yeah, I would be blanketly critical about the whole situation if it wasn't for some of the money that's being thrown around in college. I mean, some of these kids,
right?
Like VCUs are offering $200,000, like almost starting salary now. The money is really ridiculous, and
it is. But like you said, the first thing you said was VCU. VCU is a NCAA tournament team year in and year out. So that level of kid clearly is not who we're talking about. We're talking about the borderline Division III, possibly Division II kids that most of the time would have just been in a public school. And I'm going to give an example on the basketball side. We played a team last year and a kid from a school, Benedictine down in Georgia, private school. This kid gave us 52 points, Julian. And when I say he gave us 52, we did not give him any of it. He was like, yes, I'm going to score 52 no matter what you do. I'm going to get here. I'm going to make this shot. And when I can see a guy play that way, not get one Division I offer, he didn't get Division. Averaged 32 points a game. He's a 6'3" athletic point guard that averaged 32 points a game, and he is at a prep school. And it's wild because, and that's the part is like you talk about the portal, those things, the junior college kids. Isaiah Vick said that he's got 5 guys on his team at Wingate Division II that should be Division I guys. It's just the nature of the beast now.
If you would have told me Isaiah Vick wasn't going to be a Division I player as a sophomore, I would have told you you're lying to me.
I'm still shocked. I can't, but like I said, he is. He just the business makes it so he's got to take a different avenue to get there.
Right? No. That's and first of all, there's no shame in Division two basketball.
No, that's listen. Very, very talented players. One of the best basketball players I've ever been around. A guy named Tim Black played at Barton College and had a great pro career and is actually over there coaching now. Yeah. And I coached at the Division II level at Mount Olive, and those guys are super talented. And some, like you said, are Division I level players. Yeah. That's the way that it fell for them. Same thing with the Division III guys. There's some very super talented Division III guys. Clearly, we've had a lot of them play for us at Patriot.
So, Sherman, you know what the stupidest thing in the world is we talked about Colin Bird last time we were on our call, and he had no offers at the time. And then, he got one offer, and then he had, I think it was Norfolk State, and then he had 6 within 3 weeks. That is so stupid. These colleges wait for one to make.
That's the part I don't understand. It's like they're not really doing the work anymore. They're just waiting for somebody else to tell them that kid's good, and then everybody just offers it. Especially in football. Like football, it's a domino effect. Like I watched it with Ja'Kai Moore, who's playing at North Carolina right now. And Ja'Kai gets an offer from Maryland. Next thing you know, he had 10 offers by the next day. and one was Oregon, one was USC. When they ever seen him play football? Yeah.
They couldn't have seen him in those 3 or 4 days.
That's what I'm saying. So it's wild how it happens because you can be big and strong. And Jay Randall didn't play a year of football until his senior year. He catches a pass in helmets and shorts and T-shirt on a screen and runs really fast. He gets a Division II offer off of that.
Yeah. Well, he looked like a Division I football player to me by looking at just the way he carried himself.
He's a really top-notch athlete. I don't want to take that away from him, but football is a different animal when it comes to that type of stuff than basketball for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So I want to get back to the schools, the private schools and like the independent type private schools. So I have a friend whose kid started at a private school, and I saw the online syllabus, and they go to some class, they work out some, go to the weight room, eat. And to me, one of the things you learn in school is you got to just sit around for 6.5, 7 hours. It's mindless. You got to have patience. You got to deal with teachers that are boring, teachers that are great, people in your class that annoy you. It is a process you learn from being in school. You just have to do it. And then, there's some subjects you enjoy, but it's a process. I don't know if it's good for kids to 2 hours of school, 2 hours in the gym. Maybe I'm being old fashioned, but I think you learn something from being in class for it's kind of a stamina that you need and a process you need to go through.
Yeah, you know what? It's very interesting because sometimes kids that are not great students in high school do a lot better job in college because of the change in that schedule and that long day and having to sit in class and being taught bell to bell. And then they show up in college and they can kind of do stuff on their own schedule. Some are the opposite. Some need that structure for the day and can't be left to their own devices. So, it's for each their own. I don't think it's a necessity to sit in a building for 8 hours to learn. But, obviously it's something that we do as far as work and things of that nature. So it's good, I guess, skills to learn, but not necessarily a necessity for you to be successful in your life.
Yeah. So Coach, we've talked a lot about coaches showing up at your scrimmages and I think even practices you complained about before, but definitely your games and recruiting your kids. Last year, Colin showed up at Tuskegee and just changed his whole fortune. I mean, you got a Division I player who can't even get on the court for Paul VI, and now he's getting offered from University of Pennsylvania. We had the kid was it Jaden Harris at Potomac who came this season, Potomac. Do you think this is going to be a thing every year? We're going to have transfers back in the middle of the season. Kids that go to private school, not playing, like, look, I'm going to go back and get some playing time.
Well, this is the last year it's going to happen because next year they're going to change it. If you go, you got to stay for a year. So this ain't going to continue to be a thing. That's another one of the rules that's coming down that a lot of people might not know about yet. Um, you know, to each their own, man. I can't say that I would add a kid mid-season. And everybody say, yeah, right. When I said it before, there's something that has to be said about the culture of your program. And you obviously, each situation is its own, and coaches know kids and know how they would fit. But it's really hard to look at a kid that's been busting his tail all preseason, all the way through your regular season. And then the kid shows up 2 weeks before the playoffs, and you're like, hey, here's the ball, and you get to shoot as much as you want to. And that's a hard sell, I think, for anybody. And if it works for you, great. I didn't think that it worked out for some of these other schools like they were hoping it did. But like I said, to each their own. Like I said, this is going to be the last year that you're going to see it if it happens. But, sometimes kids figure out, hey, this isn't for me. I thought this was going to be a better situation. And then they want to come back. Or it might not even be the school that they were at. Elijah Gaskins was a kid that was a private school kid his whole life, all the way, K through 9. And then as a 10th grader, his dad said, well, I want him to go to public school. So he comes to Patriot, and that was one of those things that it's like everybody's different. Does it work for you? Does it not work for you? Excuse me. And, is it better for you? And sometimes it's at least you figure it out quickly and make a decision instead of sticking it out. And then you're like, what if, and if I got to do this? And some guys just want to come back and be around their friends. Tavares Riley was an example of that. This kid was at Paul VI, and clearly he was super talented, as we saw at Freedom. But I know that one of the main reasons why he wanted to come back and go to Freedom was because he wanted to be able to go to school with his friends. And he didn't want to have to dress up every day and and do those sorts of things. So, like I said, each situation has its own challenges. You got to figure out what's for you and what's not.
Yeah. So you have a lot of really strong players that came back this year. Ryan Brzezinski came back to Broad Run. Colin Bird came back to Tuskegee. Westfield, I believe most of those players came back.
I don't know what Kevin did. He's the only person that didn't lose anybody.
Yeah. What kinds of you didn't either though, right, Coach?
No, I lost 2 kids.
You lost 2 kids? Oh, sorry to hear that. What type of kid comes back? Who we used to talk about what kids are leaving, but what are the kids that are coming back? What makes the kid come back?
I mean, one of the things that you want to make sure that the kids understand, and I know this is me, and I know that I had some strong opinions about some stuff that went down, and really it's more about the adults. It's not about the kids.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always tell kids, I said, listen, man, you always can come back here, not to come back to school necessarily, but you want to come back and work out in this gym. You want to just come back to visit. It's not any bad feelings because you decided that this place was either not for you or you thought somewhere was better for you. Jaden Palmer is one of the kids that left and went to Highland. And then Carson Cook left and went to Evergreen Christian. I was on the phone with Carson the other day, asking how school's going and how things are going. Jaden text me on or called me on my birthday and text me on Devin's birthday. So I'm going to have a good relationship with him because all I want is for you to succeed. If you think that is something for you to succeed, I'm going to tell you what I think. You can take my opinion and deal what you want with it. I'm not going to try to talk you out of what your decision is. I'm just going to tell you the pros and cons of it. My issue always came with more so with the adults and how they were going about stuff from the parents or coaches of these situations. But I can't control that. So I can just control how I react to the kids and when they give me the news. And I always appreciate it when they give you a call and talk to you on the phone instead of just being weird or disappearing or not being responsive. So, and, that's where you're trying to teach them skills to be men. And, sometimes you got to give men bad news. I'll never forget this. Milan Brown's assistant coach at the University of Pittsburgh. He was an assistant at Mount St. Mary's when he was recruiting me. And at the time, Jim Phelan was the head coach, legendary coach, won a lot of games, but he was getting down towards the end. And when I say I never talked to that man one time during my recruitment, I even came on campus on an unofficial visit and still never talked to that man. All my recruiting was done through Milan, who was eventually going to take over, but it wasn't happening then. So in my mind, I can't go to a school where I don't know the head coach at all.
Yeah.
But I'm 16, 17 years old. It was hard for me to get on the phone with somebody that I was really cool with. Like, I remember being on the phone in those recruiting calls. I'm like, man, I really like this guy. And it was hard for me to tell that man, hey, listen, I'm not going to come to your school. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I'll never forget it. And I regret it to this day. I put my dad on the phone and let my dad do it. And funny enough, he ends up being the assistant coach at William & Mary while I'm playing there. And the first thing he said to me is like, man, you couldn't even tell me on the phone yourself that you weren't coming.
Yeah.
I said, man, I didn't want to disappoint you, but it is what it is. So I always tell kids, listen, good or bad, you be the one to tell somebody, even when they're going through the recruiting process. You decide you don't want to go to school, you get on the phone and you tell them. We're not going to hide from man type decisions. And that's one thing, obviously, we learn different ways. And that was a situation where I learned something and try to help these young men do that. So,
Yeah. Coach, one thing it's going on is a little bit interesting is the schools that are further from the city now, it seems like they're losing less of the kids to private school, which because there's probably less private schools out there. But if you look at the class 4 schools in the Loudoun area, Hanley, Petersburg, but like their strength in the class 4, those kids are staying and playing class 4 ball. Whereas it seems like the schools closer to the cities are the ones that are losing all the kids. Do you think there's something to that, in that maybe that if you're close to the city, you're going to lose some of your players?
yeah, because it's a farther drive. Logistically, it's hard for them to figure out how they're going to get back and forth.
Yeah.
Hanley is in a space where they don't have, even now with us. I mean, Highland is 20 minutes from us. That's one that obviously is come up where they are. They're not so much now, but the Wakefield school out in the Plains was somewhere that some kids were going. It was a young man that just graduated from Paul VI is going to Towson. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But he went there as a ninth grader to reclass. So, those are ones that are close to us, even out here. So even us being away from the city, we still got these down this area. Yeah. And obviously in the Fredericksburg area, but that's a little bit farther. But, if you're at like a Hayfield and West Potomac and you ride off of Route 1, that ain't far for you to drive up to those schools up there. And then you look at it on the Loudoun side, once Paul VI became out there, it's probably not a coincidence that you saw a dip in Freedom South Riding and John Champ as far as their basketball programs go.
Yeah. After like mid 90s, I thought the private schools are really targeting Prince William County. I mean, it seems like that's an area that they found fertile, but it is interesting. In other parts of the state, it seems like it's really helped by their being away from the private schools in the big cities. I want to talk to you a little bit about all the drama that's happening in Fairfax County in football, and it's interesting because it's been quiet in Prince William. I guess there was a problem. There's a situation in Osborne this year, but relative quiet this year so far. Knock on wood. Loudoun's has been quiet in basketball and football. Nothing since I've been here for 2 years. There's been no drama at all. But Fairfax, there's constantly something going on. This year, it's the Fairfax situation with allegedly money was given for rent for a player. There's the Lake Braddock situation. They had to forfeit. I don't know if it's true or not because of an eligible player. We all know about the hateful situation from last year. What is going on that this seems to be happening in Fairfax County more than the other areas right now?
People are actually paying attention. These aren't new things. These are, especially in football. I know everybody like to think that basketball this and transfer that. Mm-hmm. I've seen some things in football that blow my mind, and I was like, "There's no way that would have ever happened during basketball." Every year there's an article in the paper in Inside Nova about a kid transferring to a different high school, and he just says in the article, "I went there because I had more opportunities to play." Well, we're not supposed to do that, So I just think people are more aware of it. The other part about it is too is that people worried about other people's business. Like I think it's hilarious, to be honest with you, that the Fairfax situation happened because he was one of the main ones on that damn petition against Daryl, talking about I don't want to play if they can do this, and then lo and behold, look what you're doing.
Yeah.
How about you just worry about you, worry about coaching your kids, and then don't be in your feelings because you cheated and then can't figure out how to win. Most of the time, the people that do the most complaining about these things are the ones doing the most wrong. And I'm not going to use anybody's names down in my area because I'm not trying to start anything yet. I'm gonna wait until I get closer to the season.
Yeah, we're not in
But I
mid-season
know,
form yet.
listen, and not even there's even not even just in this area, but in other parts of this state and maybe in other divisions. And it's so funny. We played a school last year. Okay, now we had 6 losses, so I'm gonna just let y'all guess who it might have been. But we played them. They beat us. Okay, very good team. And then all of a sudden they lose some people and don't have the same team coming back. And then they look at the team that the same kids that they played against and have the nerve to be like, how's Sherman getting all these athletes all the time? Like I'm doing something crazy. I said it's called player development. It's the same kids you saw during the season that you were very happy to beat that are now have improved, and you realize you have no chance to beat us if we play you again. And I'm going to remember all the stuff you had to say and probably run it up on you. But it's people need to be worried about what's happening in their sandbox. Okay, do what you're supposed to do. When I tell our kids, I don't have very many rules when it comes to them. I said, be on time and do what's right. Those are my 2 rules. If you're on time and you do what's right, you're probably not going to screw up.
Yeah.
And and more so, I say, worry about you. And I can't tell you how many times I've said that in class or to my own children or at the basketball practice or whatnot. Why are you worried about what they're doing?
Yeah.
How is that affecting you?
Well,
And
let's. I want to get back to that then. So, the situation with Fairfax High School, and you're right. Fairfax, the coach. This is Trey. What's his last name, Coach? I forgot his last name, but
I have no idea.
yeah,
But he was one
he
of the
he,
whiners last year for sure.
he was. But this year, when the situation broke with Fairfax and Lake Braddock, it was the former assistant coaches at Hayfield were the ones that were in social media that were talking about the story because none of the rest of us knew what was going on, and I understood why people would be upset and all that stuff. But all that does is make it rough on the rest of us. I mean,
I
all
mean,
the
nobody was worried about it being rough on them when everybody was.
I defended him to the end.
Listen, I'll get that. But when I say everybody else, I mean, how many newspaper articles did we see about their situation?
What,
How
okay,
many, and listen, I'm
what
not going to talk
situation?
about whether they did was right or wrong.
What situation? You mean the Hayfield?
From
You
our
mean the
Hayfield,
Hayfield?
right? Hayfield situation,
Okay.
right? Okay. All this stuff. We got the guy over at, ironic enough, the guy that was over at South County comparing people to pedophiles in what he said, which was insane. Now look who's the head coach over at Fairfax.
Who is the
You
head
know,
coach there?
the guy that got let go of South County.
That's Pannoni is the coach.
Pretty sure that's what I had heard. Now, I might be, don't quote me on, I might be wrong, but at the same time, it's like all you people were so angry at this man who clearly, listen, like I said, I don't know the ins and outs, but clearly he is a very good coach of football. You don't do the things that they did without being a good coach. Now, clearly they had a lot of talent,
Yeah.
But if they go through the proper channels and everything checks out, why are you still worried about it?
Yeah.
Because he's going to whoop you by 50? Go get better. Worry about yourself.
Okay, here's how I feel about that. So when they left, when Daryl and those guys left Freedom to go to Hayfield, I was like, wow, they're gonna go. They got the state championship team. They got Jeff Overton coming back, and and they're gonna go to Hayfield. And he's got to rebuild, and I don't know if the plan was they were going to rebuild that quickly or not, but they were just basically moving it north. You're not going to stop parents from going where they want to go, and
No.
that's cool. I felt that the problem I had with the whole thing is I felt that the Fairfax County Times was talking about these the poor kids in Prince William County were bullying the poor little rich kids. That was what I didn't like about
Right.
it. They were
And nobody can convince me that there weren't racial undertones to all those articles.
that's
I
what
don't
that's
care what
what that's what I didn't like. Now, if coaches are complaining all that stuff, there's a little bit of gamesmanship in that. And so I'm not saying it's right, but if Fairfax is the South County thing, I can't defend that. But if they're all tattling on each other,
but the difference in now
yeah,
compared to, let's say, back then
yeah,
is that you talk about the gamesmanship. We all talk to each other,
right.
and we might say, man, that dude is definitely doing this and doing that. But wasn't nobody going to tell? Like it's like, what are you getting out of that?
Yeah.
I don't get on this high horse and talking about the integrity of the game. Like you don't care. Like that is not true. You just know that you aren't going to win. That is why you did it. And if you weren't just worried about that, then why you didn't say anything about what you were doing? And that's the part that I'll never understand. I'll never understand people having something to say when you're doing crazy stuff. And that's what I talk about. This coach down here got everything to say about me. And all I'm doing is just coaching our kids up and helping them get better. I can't help the kids when they come play for a team that's really good. I don't talk to them about it because I don't want to guarantee anything. I don't want parents to think I owe them anything. I've had parents be mad at me because they think their kids should play. I don't know why you think that. We compete here. That's what it is. I've had kids leave because of that. But you're over here bothered by a kid saying, I want to go play at Patriot. But if a kid wants to be a doctor and he says, I want to go to the biotech program and go to Osborne Park, no one blinks an eye at that.
Yeah.
These kids have aspirations too. We talk about them getting ready for them. Even I'm a sped teacher. We have IEPs, they have transition plans. They got to tell us what they want to do with their life in the 9th grade, which is insane. Like, you don't know that, But at the same time, like, if this is what they say they want to do, why wouldn't it be okay for them to go here to do it if they do everything the right way? And it's nothing bad about it. We're not trying to use someone's address or say you live somewhere and you don't, or you don't live, all the things that could be wrong about it. Yeah. You live there or you go through the specialty program the way you're supposed to. Why you got something to say? Why does it bother you?
Yeah. What should the rules be, and should they be the same in every jurisdiction, or should Fairfax County have the right to have different rules of Prince William? What should the rules be, and should they be uniform across the state?
I think it's crazy that different districts have different rules. I mean, our rules can be different to even how you run your district tournament. Like, we don't all play in the same state tournament at the end. Yeah. I think it's crazy. I think the rules should kind of be, the same across the board, but it's hard because, like you said, in our county, you have specialty programs. In Loudoun, you can go to whatever high school you want as long as you have transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really.
Well, if you're there in 9th grade, you can't.
In 9th grade, right, yeah. Right. Yeah. In Fairfax, you have red days and green days as far as off-season workout stuff goes. And it's so interesting watching how different each place is. And I couldn't tell you what the rules are in Richmond or 757 because nobody follows them. So, you know what I'm saying? And nobody says anything. Yeah. Like, that's why I said this, one of those things where we can all see it in plain sight, but no one down there is making it so uncomfortable that people are you can't do that. But, we saw, what was the name of the school? Hopewell. Hopewell's entire staff and half of their basketball team just left and went to some new startup school called something.
Is it public school?
Hopewell is.
Oh, but they left Hopewell.
Yeah.
Wow.
They did. No longer because they all left. Now, how is that possible? I don't know, but it's not for me to say. Someone had to sign off on it.
And they're going to a private school or a public school?
Private
school.
But it's like you said, we're in September. This happened in the last month. You know what I'm saying?
I still want to find out how that big guy transferred from Lansdowne to Hopewell. That's a long commute. But what's funny is that we were talking about Daryl and Freedom and Hayfield when the coach from John Marshall, what's his name again?
Talking about Ty White.
Tell you, when he went to Petersburg, no one even pretended that the players weren't going to go down with him. I mean, it was like you have like memes saying transferring to Petersburg. I mean, it was like there wasn't even a pretense of they're not going to go there. I mean, we
No,
all we all we all knew it. So
everybody knew it and everybody sees it. And, whereas, I'm not saying it should be because I think Ty White does a good job,
yeah,
and is great for basketball, regardless of what capacity it is. But why did we have such an uproar up here about it? And, I don't want to get into the whole sociology and psychology of it, but there's a problem with a coach being as confident as he is in his abilities and also having darker skin. That doesn't go over well in certain places.
yeah, I think there was a double standard. But the thing about John Marshall that always bothered me was the fact that they played in class two. I could care less if they recruit or how they get kids. I could care less. But at least play the highest classification because they
They,
play
they
class.
can't do anything about that. That's like you said. That's not a them decision. They got 900 kids in their school.
Yeah, do something about it. I mean, they're playing Graham from Bluefield. They're
No,
playing
listen,
they're
I'm
playing
not
Radford.
disagreeing with you. You would like to see them play in a higher classification, but the rules are the rules. It's like you said, we're not far from being a Division 5 team. If our enrollment drops off, we have to go
Patriots
down to Division 5.
dropped off a little
I
bit.
mean, it's not that close. I mean, we're still like 2,000, but we used to be
Oh,
2,500 before Gainesville was built.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
So they stopped building out there.
no,
No,
they're still building. So things are going to blow back up. They
yeah,
still developments and whatnot. But when they split the schools, obviously it was designed to do that. Now we get rid of the trailers and stuff outside, and everybody's in the building.
oh, good, good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the basketball season. So, what's going on in the off season now? Like I had the Loudon guys on yesterday. It's funny. There's not much going on in Loudon. The guy Tal Rose left Loudon Valley. Um, he's at Virginia Academy,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a lot of really big news in Loudon, which is good. I mean, it was stable. Brzezinski came back. As I was saying, uh, Colin Bird's back. We talked about it in Fairfax County. Westfield kept their team. We lost obviously. Merrick Realstone went up north. I think to New Hampton Prep, or one of those big prep schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge loss for them. I mean, there's so many, just pretty good players that we lost. I think Merrick's a really good player, but we lost some pretty good players in Fairfax County. What are some of the other offseason rumors that you've heard going into the season?
As far as just in our area, just
Yeah,
in general.
players moving around.
I mean, obviously Merrick, but his situation wasn't necessarily basketball driven.
No, it's
And
understandable. His family's in New Zealand.
right, some of it was, some of it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like Houston loses somebody every year,
That,
and
that kid, the kid came back and he ended up going back to private school, right?
I think that's correct. Like I said, Los be more locked in with that stuff up there.
Right.
But down this way, I mean, we had kids leaving left and right. We had Forest Park, best player, just went to Gillian Academy.
That Jaden.
I think that's his name. I can't remember.
I like that kid. Yeah, I like that
Right,
kid.
he left. I told you about the two kids we lost. We lost Carson Cook and Jaden Palmer, very talented players. Um, Anthony Mills can tell you probably more kids he lost. I know that Aaron over at Woodbridge lost a kid to Gillian Academy, is one of his better players. It's just the nature of the beast. You got to be able to adapt and find different guys to contribute because you're going to lose kids. It's just where we are in this business now. And so, I haven't heard anything. Well, Gainesville lost their best player. He went to Bluefield, Charlottesville.
St. Anne's Belfield?
No, is it Blue Ridge?
Blue Ridge. Oh yeah, Blue Ridge. Right, right, right.
That's the name of it. Blue Ridge. That's where he went. So that's a hard hit for them. I mean, I'm not upset about it, but and then it's one of those things that like you're going to lose guys. You hope that you can hold on to them. You hope they want to stay in public school. You hope they can keep getting better and they can get recruited to the level that they want to. But there's a lot of this stuff that's just out of our control now when it comes to that. And it is what it is. But I think we still got a lot of very talented players throughout Northern Virginia. There's still going to be some good basketball. Some of the ones that you've been used to seeing. I know Doug lost his point guard over at Woodson. Some of the guys that you've been used to seeing with really strong teams might be down a little bit this year. But it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's too bad. I don't feel bad for the other guys, But you hate to see it be that way. And then, like I said, Kevin over at Westfield seemed to hold on to all his super talented kids.
Why is that? Why do you think he does that? Why does he?
I mean, this year he did. It's everybody's different every year. I didn't lose anybody going into the year. So he lost a player during the season. So you never
That's
know.
the same kid. So that's the kid we talked about before. The kid you lost. Okay.
Jameson Ross was one that left before. Right. So, I mean, you hope that, and you hope that the kid, especially with his team, they were very good last year, and they want to run it back and see if they have a chance, to get to the last game and had a really good summer. And, this is one of those things now, if kids have a good summer, now you really start hearing the words, and you play in different leagues. Like they were up into the Mathis Summer League, and you play against these different private schools, and you play it, and your kid has a good game against them. The next thing you know, they're in the kids' DMs the next day, or texting them, or calling their family to say, "Hey, why don't you think about coming here?" But like I said, it's the business, man. Like they got to do their job, we got to do ours. You just hope that you can hold on to as many good players as you can to have a chance to win.
Does that Westfield team have a chance to be special, like one of the Hayfield teams, like the 90 or what the 95 page?
Listen, they do have a very good chance to be special. I hope they're not, because that means we're not winning. But Kevin does a great job, man. He's got a super talented group. They got guys at every position. They got their bench was better than I think I had gave them credit for when I saw them in person. So
yes,
they're really good. And we talk about transfers. The kid that one of their guards, I remember we played against him when he was at Champ. So,
he was a sophomore last year, right?
The white kid, I forgot his
name.
Yeah. He better not be a sophomore. I've seen him enough.
No, last year he was a sophomore last year.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think so. I feel like he need to be a little bit older than that.
Yeah.
But he's a very good player. They got size, they got athleticism. Price is extremely talented there as a player, so they have a chance to be very, very special. And I hope that it isn't as special as Hayfield, because, as you know, we were one of the teams that lost to them on the road. Right.
So, how about you guys? You think you guys are going to be better than last season?
Yeah, our guys are more experienced. We had a great summer, finishing 7-1 in the Cabot Hoop Summer League. Ironically, coming in second place behind Westfield, who was 8-0. And that's a big deal for two public schools to finish at the top of that league.
Who finished behind you guys?
I have to go back and look.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I wish we could have played it out to see, if we could have got to the championship game and did that. But, the new rules kind of put a hindrance on that one. But I think that, our guys are really talented. I think that, Elijah Gaskins is one of, if not the best point guards in the state, in my opinion. Sean Madrigal, who's our second lead scorer, had an excellent summer, played really well against some very quality teams, had like 3 20-point games down there at the live period in Richmond, one of those being against Petersburg. Noah Conrad, who probably has had the biggest jump, and his recruitment has kind of blown up to the point where now he's starting here for some Division II schools.
Great.
Has had a great summer. The guys are working. And that's, like I said, that you look at them as kind of like the top three, but Christian Cole is extremely talented. Started all summer in place of Kai Wilcox, who's going to be out for a little bit with some injury stuff, but he'll be back eventually. Jeremiah Parrish, super talented, bigger guy, but can play on the perimeter, does some things for that nature, the toughness stuff. Kid to look out for, young guy who's going to get some minutes now and play a role for us. Chris Bethel, sophomore that we pulled up last year as a freshman that started on JV. Pierce Gaskins. We got a kid named Tim Odell that's very talented. young man that came over to us from another school that is going to possibly help us out. It kind of provides that toughness, defensive stuff, kid named Malachi. But I like our group. I think we got a really good chance to get to the last game. And if you get to the last game, it's kind of anybody's ball game from there. But Westfield, Lansdowne, you got to think of them being up there in the top as far as Division 6 for sure.
I guess Bird's coming back up to 6 this year, right? Maybe they'll be pretty.
They are. I don't know how good they are this year, but it's down there in that region. It's going to be Lansdowne most likely.
How about your district? Sure, that district was so special. I used to love coming to your Battlefield games. Do you think your district's going to recover this year, or it's been a little bit tough? It's been a little bit tough.
No, I do not, and I'm sure they're not going to like it, but it is what it is. I always say we're going to be the guys until we ain't the guys, and we've been the guys for 8 years in a row, and I think we're going to do it again.
You wish it was tough? You wish it was tough? A little bit?
Yeah, at times, obviously as a coach, you enjoy winning, but you love the iron sharpens iron sort of mentality. And those battles that we had from 2018 through 2023, where it was really, really tough with some of those early Osborne teams, which I think they'll be improved with the new coach that they have there coming in. Independence is coming into our league this year, and obviously they got good numbers over there. And the guy that used to be the coach at Robinson, I don't know how good they're going to be, but
they're okay. They're okay last year.
Yeah. Gainesville obviously had a really good year last year, but losing their best player is going to be tough. OP's got a new coach, James West IV. Obviously, he's got some experience being an assistant on their girls team over there and helping them win a championship. And his dad obviously is going to come and help him out some. So I look for them to be improved. But if it's going to be back to how you see it and being those tough drag out games, it's not going to be that. It's just not. And I know I'm giving people bulletin board material, but I like that because I want them to be good so we can all get better. So it is what it is. But I see us doing what we have done in the past, unless something else happens that I did not foresee. And quite honestly, I don't see that.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like, Coach, you're going to have to be that great, though. To get to. I mean, it's good to be great, but it looks like in the old days, Battlefield was going to test you.
And then listen, they're going to be good though. Now the new coach they got there, RJ, is got a lot of energy. Knows his basketball, did a really good job with travel stuff and training guys. So we have a lot of new energy within our league with new coaches, and there's a new coach over at Unity Reed as well. So it might not be something where it's great all the way through this year, but the energy that these guys are bringing into the league and the freshness of it, I can see within the next year or so where it's back to those glory days of the Cedar Run district.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, look, Coach, this has been good, man. Doing a one-on-one. I don't think we got in too much trouble tonight, but every time I have you or Mike on, it's always it's always something that I.
Well, somebody gonna be mad at something I said. That's just the world I live in, Julian. You know that.
Me too. I get a couple of nasty grams occasionally myself. So anyway, Coach, this has been great. I hope you enjoy the rest of football season.
Oh, we ain't gonna talk about Devin. I talked about Anthony.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about Devin.
I want to sell my man short.
Yeah, let's go.
We playing his second year of Anklebiter football. Got our first game this weekend. Actually, we got to go out to Alexandria and play at Sandburg Middle School. So very excited for that. He's versatile kid, playing running back and split him out wide. But all he does is every day is ask, is he better than his older brother at this point in time in his life? So I love the fact that he has that person to look up to. I think it's going to be super cool for him to see his brother being a starting varsity quarterback and obviously what he's going to continue to do in high school and be able to strive for that. But super proud of him. I'm proud of all my boys in different ways. So
are either of your boys, younger boys, playing basketball, or are they just football players?
No, they're basketball too.
Okay.
Anthony's going to play basketball as well. I mean, he's talented enough and physical enough that he could push to possibly be a varsity kid, but most likely, we're looking at maybe JV if he can do that and make that. But And Devin is I'm not gonna lie to you, he's pretty exceptional. So,
Yeah.
you know,
He looks like a basketball. He looks like a basketball player.
yeah, but he doesn't know it yet, kind of like I didn't know it yet. He
Yeah.
says he wants to be an NFL player, which, listen, as long as you're getting good grades and you're not getting in trouble, hopefully you're good enough to give yourself a chance to go to school for free. But if you don't, it is what it is, or you give yourself a chance to play professionally at whatever level that might be. But that is a long ways off. And like I said, I just want them to just work hard and do the best they can and see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Coach. That's exciting. I know you're going to love football season this year. Before you know it, because you're loving it so much, it'll be basketball season because it's probably going to go by pretty quickly.
Well, listen, we still got workouts for basketball and conditioning and weightlifting. I just have to leave from there and go to youth football practice every day. That's the difference.
And you're teaching history, right?
Teaching history. Yep.
Wow. So you're grading papers and all that too?
Kind of.
Multiple choice?
No, we actually got to do a lot of writing now with the state set up. So, but it's more spread out, so it's not as much stuff to grade.
Yeah, my wife went back to teaching this year. She's been doing other things for a while. She went back to full-time teaching, and she says teaching has changed. She's
big time, right?
It's a lot more oversight and things you expect out of teachers. They really, for the money, the money's decent, the benefits are decent, but I mean they don't give it away. I mean
they asking a lot of us for the amount that we are making.
Yeah, they ask a lot of teachers, much more than we remember.
Yeah. Even in the last 10 years, how much they starting to ask of you. So
yeah, it's a lot. So hopefully it doesn't get in the way of people doing a good job. So
I hope not. Sometimes when things are being ran a certain way, kind of makes people shy away from wanting to do the job. And we're seeing that now with some of the coaching. Some of the really good guys are getting out of this and getting people in here that might not be the same level because they don't make it easy. As some of the rules they putting in up there and how you can interview people, and I'm gonna do what I want as long as I'm not doing anything negative.
You said rules up here, but you guys have the 10-day rule as well at Prince William, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's rules and stuff of that nature, but like I said, whatever we're doing to grow the game, man, I don't like that we're trying to put hindrance to that. I don't like that they're trying to put stipulations to how we can, speak with the kids and do our jobs and get them to where we need to be. Because like you said, we got to grow these guys as men, and we can't grow them as men when we're always worried about the bad people that are in the minority and running everybody like we're trying to keep away from that.
Yeah, it's true. So, well, Coach, keep doing what you're doing, and can't wait to basketball season. But I'm going to enjoy football. I do love this part of the year as well.
Yeah.
Let's as soon as I find out what's going on, we'll get the Fairfax County guys back on.
Right.
But I enjoyed this, man. We covered a lot of ground. This has been great.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, big dog.
Yeah, man. We'll get together soon.
All right, man.
All right, Coach. Hang in there. Good luck with the football game this week.
Appreciate it.
All right, yeah. Take care.